At this point, I think it's safe to say a lot of people do not like Sean O'Malley. And the reason for that is pretty clear, and I'm sure tons of people have talked about this by now, but he says he's going to be bigger than Conor McGregor. I mean, he's always said that. That has been his stick. But, I mean, let's just be honest, that's not going to happen. It's a good thing to aspire to, but there's just no way he can ever do that. Conor McGregor brought this certain kind of emotion to the UFC that Sean O'Malley is not capable of doing. And if there's one thing everybody knows, people do not like unearned confidence. Arrogance, if you so will. But to say that is the sole reason why Sean O'Malley gets a lot of hate, it is crazy. I mean, that's just not true. I mean, Sean O'Malley's haters run deep, and they branch off into many, many different directions. And typically, it's for some of these reasons. He's not very good on the mic. He's not very interesting to listen to. He gets a lot of special treatment from the UFC. He's not actually that big of a star. He was friends with 6ix9ine. He got a 6ix9ine tattoo on his shoulder. He's in an open relationship. He appeals to a much younger fan base. He has colored hair. He hangs out with the Nelk boys. A lot of people thought Petr Yan got robbed in their fight. The UFC is protecting him by giving him Chito for his first title defense. Most of the time, it's one of these reasons listed as why people really do not like Sean O'Malley. Some of these reasons are more valid than others, but we're going to get into it. For one, I think there are some misconceptions about Sean O'Malley, and two, I think people's disdain for him lead to them underrating him a lot. For starters, as far as Sean O'Malley's mic skills when it comes to press conferences and things like that, I don't think he's anything special, but I also don't think he's that bad. To me, it just seems like people are very critical of him because, you know, like I said, he calls himself a star. He says he's going to be bigger than Conor McGregor. So, you're going to get judged very harshly when it comes to this kind of thing. But like I said, this point's been talked to death. My only point is, I understand the criticism. I just don't think he's that bad. But he's also not outwardly very good. But actually, before he was champion, I had watched his podcast a few times. And honestly, I liked Sean. The thing about him is, he's insanely disciplined. Absolutely insanely dialed into fighting. You listen to his routines and his training regimen and how focused he is on recovery and diet and bettering himself, and I enjoyed listening to it. He's just so intelligent in the way he structures his life. Now, look, I'm not fucking telling you gotta go listen to his podcast every week. I just personally think in this format, he comes across as more likable. I've liked how Sean is very realistic about his skills and how he matches up to other fighters.
I think after you defend your title, Volk defends his title, I think you go up and you challenge an aging Volk for the 145 pound.
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't fight Volk. I'm just being very honest. It's a very, very, very difficult fight. Do I believe I could knock him out? 100%. I believe I could knock out anybody around 130, 145. 55, it would be a little tougher. I need to put on some lbs. But Volk's a very difficult fight. I'm not saying I will never fight him. I'm just saying that's not what I want next. Yeah. I want to, maybe a year, 2 years.
If all you ever saw was the occasional clip online or were just reading headlines about certain things, you may have a bit of a distorted perception. As far as being friends with 6ix9ine, I mean, I certainly wouldn't have gotten a 6ix9ine tattoo on my shoulder, that's for sure. As far as the Nelk boys go, I did listen to their Full Send podcast with Khabib Nurmagomedov a while back, and that was god-awful. That was horrible. Imagine having Khabib Nurmagomedov on a podcast, and none of the people on the podcast know anything about fighting or MMA. They were asking him the most asinine questions I've ever heard. That was bad. That was horrible. I'll admit. So, like I said, if those are some sticking reasons why you do not like Sean O'Malley, more power to you. But in regards to the belief that Petr Yan was robbed against Sean O'Malley, people are just stupid. They're just absolute idiots, honestly, because it's just so funny to me how everybody clamors to this close fights are not robberies, close fights are not robberies, except with this one. This close fight has always been and will always be called a robbery purely because of the fact people do not like Sean O'Malley. It's just that simple. For those not just blinded by hatred, I think what's making them call that fight a robbery was the fact that rounds 1 and 3 were crazy close, and round 2 was definitively won by Petr Yan. But still, that doesn't make it a robbery at all, actually, so that's actually not a very good point to make. Either that, or people are just like, oh, well, Petr Yan got some takedowns that he didn't do any damage with. And again, do I even have to defend that point? I'm not even gonna. But now, is the UFC trying to protect Sean by giving him Chito as his first title defense? And here's all I have to say about that. For one, Corey Sandhagen's injured. He's out. And two, after Sean fought Aljo, Merab did not call his shot. The only thing he was saying was, give my boy his rematch. He should have taken the opportunity where he had it and really made a case that he should be fighting for the title. But he didn't do that. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, clearly he deserves it way more than Chito does. But Chito and Sean have history. Chito beat Sean before. So in this particular instance, there is a storyline that makes sense. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying let's remember that Merab never called for the title shot. He wanted his buddy to have it. But let's tackle some of the more important criticisms. A lot of people claim that Sean O'Malley isn't really a star. He only sold 500,000 pay-per-views against Aljo, and his upcoming fight against Chito Vera at UFC 299, the UFC has completely stacked. And a lot of people think that's because they want us to think Sean's a bigger star than he really is. Well, here's what I think. I think you cannot make the argument that Sean O'Malley isn't a star. I mean, he absolutely is, but there are some very important caveats with that. For one, I think something that hurt his pay-per-view against Aljo was the fact that nobody thought he had a shot. Nobody. I would say 99.99999% of the MMA world thought he was going to get absolutely smoked. Now, just by me saying that, there's going to be quite a few people in the comments saying, no, I knew, I was 100% sure that he was gonna knock out Aljo. I was calling it from day one. Okay. To be fair, I had made a video saying I thought Sean was going to knock out Aljo before their fight. And there were some people who were in agreement with me. I would say they were definitely the minority, but there were some, so whatever. I guess I have to believe you. But also, Sean O'Malley to get a title shot scraped by Petr Yan by the skin of his teeth. And then promptly after that, Merab 50-45 to Petr Yan. So, to many people, the fight between Aljo and Sean O'Malley was not representative of the two best bantamweights in the world fighting. And I think those two reasons definitely hurt the pay-per-view a bit. But also, and I think this is the bigger reason, just because you're a star, it doesn't mean you're a pay-per-view draw. I think there are two big differences there. Sean O'Malley has a big social media following, and he's had it well before he was ever champion. But I think you can see from this embedded clip right here what the issue is.
Yo, man, how long you been waiting out here for?
Couple hours, 3 hours.
How's he gonna win?
How's he gonna win? Knockout, second round.
Sean's fan base teeters more towards younger people. And as many of you guys know, UFC pay-per-views are an absolute ripoff. $80 per pay-per-view plus $10 a month for ESPN+. That is insane. Nobody is willing to pay that. And if there's one thing younger people are really good at, it is illegally streaming these cards. Now, I have never done that. I have paid for every single one. And even if I haven't, there's no way you can prove it. But the only people actually paying for these pay-per-views are the ones who just don't understand pop-up ads. That's it. So, to me, Sean O'Malley is a star. You know, he's not Conor McGregor. He's not Ronda Rousey. I wouldn't even say he's the biggest star in the UFC. But he's definitely up there. But in his case, that does not translate to pay-per-view buys. So if that changes your personal definition of what being a star is in the world of MMA, I completely understand that. So I think he needs to stop bragging about how important he is to the UFC. Because right now, the numbers just do not reflect that. He is a very well-known figure, but until he gains the respect of MMA fans as the best bantamweight in the world, that's not going to translate to people buying his pay-per-views. But speaking of being the best bantamweight in the world, this segues into the next point really good. Because people do not like Sean O'Malley, they underrate him a lot. I just made a video about the matchup between Merab and Henry Cejudo. And a comment I've seen a lot is that the only person that can stop Merab is Corey Sandhagen. And I'm really surprised to hear that. And the reason is, Corey and Sean are very similar. I mean, they have their key differences, but overall, they both have elite movement, really high level striking, and they're both really fast with a lot of range for 135, which would both serve them really well against somebody like Merab Dvalishvili. But here's the big difference between Corey Sandhagen and Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley has legit one-punch knockout power. Corey Sandhagen does not. Sure, if Corey Sandhagen lands a flying knee, which he loves doing to wrestlers, he can put your lights out. But he's not stopping guys with one punch. So you match him up against Merab, it's a really interesting fight, one I would love to see that I think Corey definitely could win. But he's going to have to win a decision. Which, against Merab, who can go all day long at a really high pace, that puts you at a pretty big disadvantage. But against Sean O'Malley, if Merab walks into a right hand, he's going to sleep. I do not understand how people overlook Sean O'Malley's skills so much. I understand people don't like him, but he legitimately is elite. I'm sorry. He is a knockout artist. Every single fight he's had in the UFC, pretty much, he has rocked his opponent. Every single fight. Sean had Petr Yan hurt twice. Once with that straight right in the second round, and then in the third round with that knee. Corey never hurt Petr Yan. This notion that Corey Sandhagen is better than Sean O'Malley, I just don't understand. Corey is amazing. He is a master at managing distance and range. He's super accurate, very well-rounded. But I just think Sean, in all of those areas, at the very least, is comparable. But he also has legit one-punch knockout power. And I think people need to look past their biases and wake up to the reality of Sean O'Malley.